All right, we're ready to move on to our floating shoe fly block. Before we do that, I have my floating diamond 4 patch here, and I forgot to mention that as I'm going, I am just sticking these blocks in with my background fabric, just so that they stay nice and neat. So I'm just going to stick those in there as I'm finishing my blocks, so everything will be in that bag, ready to go, ready to do the background and assembly of the blocks. The other thing that I will go through with you before we do the assembly is just how to check your blocks to make sure that they're all the right size. And I'll show you how to sliver trim those, but I do that right at the end before I start the assembly, just so that when we cut like that, it tends to loosen up the stitches and things can come apart. So if you're taking a while to make the quilt, it's going to sit through a winter or through a period of time, it's best not to do any trimming until you're actually ready to do the assembly of the block. So I'm just going to put the blocks in the bag for right now, and then we'll talk about trimming when we're ready to do the assembly. So the next set of blocks is going to be this floating shoe fly, and this is on your page 7 of your pattern. And as well, we're going to be using page 6 of the pattern, which is showing you how to make the half square triangle, the floating half square triangle. So for this time around, I'm just going to work with one color. So I'm just going to pull out the first one that comes out here, which is the green one. And again, I'm just going to lay out that was wrong side up, so this is right side up. I'm just going to lay out my squares. So we have the lights, and we have the darks. So you have 1 3.5, and some 4.5, 3 3¼ inch dark. And then you're going to want 4 3.5 by 3.5 inch light squares at the top. Then you have your 4 3¼ by 3¼ and then 4 more 3.5 by 3.5 light, and then you have 1 3.5 by 3.5 dark. So I'm just laying these out just like they are right here. Okay, so this is going to be your @ block, your pound block, your $ block, and your percentage block. Those are just symbols we've assigned to each of these blocks. So again, we are not actually going to be piecing with the $ and the percentage sign blocks. So I'm just going to put those here for now, and I'll bring these two down because these are the two that we're going to use to make our half square triangles. So again, I'm just going to chain these through real quick. So what you're going to do is take one of your light, right side up, and you're going to take one of your darks, and you're going to put them right side together with your light block. Again, we're matching up the top left corner. So the blocks are right one underneath one another, and you're lining up the sides. So you're going to see a little bit of your light block underneath like that. And same principle that we did for our floating diamond square. We're going to be drawing a diagonal from the top right to the top left. If you're not using one of the tools for sewing the diagonal, so either the Fast to Sew or the Seam So Easy or the Sew Straight Seam Guide. So if you're not using one of those, you will be drawing a line from corner to corner. And then we're going to either sew on that line or use your tool to sew that diagonal. So again, you want that top corner to be right in front of your needle, and the bottom corner is on the red line. You're looking at your bottom corner, making sure it's staying on that red line. And normally I use my open toe for that, so I can actually see right in front of my needle, but I forgot to take it off this time. So again, right sides together, and you're sewing. From corner to corner. So we're making 4 of these. Then I'm going to cut them apart, and I'm just going to trim. So again, I'm just using a smaller rectangle ruler. You're putting your 1/4-inch line on the seam that you've just sewn, and you're trimming. So you're going to make sure that you're trimming the right side of the half square triangle. You're not trimming on the side where you can see the light fabric. You're trimming the side that is fully dark. Okay, then we're just going to press those over. Again, just setting my seam before I press it over. Okay, so now we're ready to set up our square for sewing. So you're going to have one length like that. So the first row is one floating half square triangle and a light, and another floating half square triangle. We've got light, dark, light squares, then a half square triangle, a light, and a half square triangle. So we're just going to sew those rows together. So I'm just going to sew row number 1. And I'm just going to do the first part of each row. I'm going to cut those apart. And before I press anything, I'm just going to put these back here. Sew my last piece to each row. So again, I'm just going to cut these apart. Just going to lay my row out, my block out again. And we're telling you to press towards the center square for your first row. And for your second row, you're pressing away from your center square. The reason we're doing that is so our seams lock when we're putting our rows together. So third row, you're going towards again. So now we're just going to sew those 3 rows together. So again, I'm just going to put my row 1 on top of my row 2. And again, these seams are just going to snug in. Just like that. They should lock nice and tight. And again, you can pin that. And then we're just going to bring row 3. And again, we're just going to pin that together. And for pressing, we are pressing towards row 2, so that's your middle row. There we have our floating Shoofly block. So you'll go ahead and make your other 3, and I'm going to go make mine, and I'll be right back.